Hello and welcome to Module 5 in our Django series. Today we're going to talk about Django Admin, which, as I've mentioned earlier, is the most loved feature of Django. It is also the most powerful part of the Django framework, giving us an automatic admin interface for our models, allowing us therefore to perform CRUD operations on our models. How Django does this is it looks at the metadata for our models and then gives us this interface. Now, as you may have figured out, this particular feature is not meant for site users or site visitors, but rather as an internal management tool for site administrators or site managers. We have already used Django Admin, if you recall, in order to create our project, and we were able to do this because Django Admin is enabled in the default project template, thus allowing us to issue the start project command. Let's now delve a little deeper into Django Admin. To do that, come to your command prompt, change directory to your virtual environment, activate the environment, start VS Code. So we have our code for ready reference, change directory to the container folder, and start the server. Now, if you come to your code and you go to the project urls.py file, you see we already have the path to admin there, and so we can go straight away to admin by typing in localhost/admin. That brings us to the login page and to the next point of discussion in this session, which is using the admin interface. In order to use the interface, we need to create a user to log in. So come now to your command prompt, stop the server, Control-C to do that, and type in py manage.py, create super user, that's all one word. Press enter and you get the prompt to type in username, put in any user you like, and the email address, password. And you get the message super user created successfully. Now start the server and go back to your browser and use those login details. And now we're at the admin interface, right? You can see that we have groups, we have users as well, and you can, for example, delete a user. This is the action list, and you can say delete selected users, click go, click yes, I'm sure, and the user is deleted. If you look at the user, you can put in the details for the user, and you will also notice that the user has staff status marked as true so that this user can log into the admin site. The user also has super user status, indicating that this user has all permissions without explicitly assigning them. If you scroll down, you can see all these permissions, but we don't need to select them because our user has super user status. Click on Home. Where are our models though? Which brings us to the next point of discussion. In order to perform CRUD operations, we need to inform Django which models will have an admin interface. How do we do that? We register our models in admin.py using the register function. So let's now go to the admin.py file. That's the app admin.py file. And you can see Django has put in a comment there. All you need to do is just type in admin.site.register to use that function and put in the model name. Do the same for all models. Now you notice we have squigglies indicating we need to import these models. And so we can say from appname.models import and the model names. Or you can also just put in .models and that should work as well. Now that these models are registered, make sure that your server is running and then go back to the browser and refresh the page. And now you can see the models. So you can click on students, for example, and you see all the students. You can do a bulk delete here, for example, by selecting students that you want to delete. You can also do a bulk delete on teachers, selecting teachers to delete. You can change a student's details as well, right? So for example, if I want to change the telephone number, just click save and you get the message the student was changed successfully. You may want to add a teacher. Add teacher, put in all the details, and then click save. You get the message teacher was added successfully, right? So now I leave you to play around with this interface after the session. This, by the way, is a default interface, right? So every model has this default interface. We can change this interface, however, which brings us to the next point of discussion, which is the ModelAdmin class. Now, the ModelAdmin class is a representation of each model in the admin interface, like we saw just now. The ModelAdmin class is normally stored in admin.py, but we can also register a model without providing a ModelAdmin description in admin.py, just as we've done. In that case, Django uses the default admin interface. But what if we want to change the interface? And that brings us to discuss Django actions. Now, the basic admin workflow is select the object, change the object, and then save the changes you made. But what if you have to update or change more than one object, right? So say, for example, we have an admission status field, which we are going to introduce shortly. And this admission status field reflects the status of the student. The student status can change from enrolled to interview allotted and then to admitted. Let's say you have 10 students who now have their status changed to admitted. Changing one object at a time is going to be tedious. And so Django gives us the option to write and register actions. But what are actions? Actions are functions that are called when an action is triggered from the admin interface. Currently, we only have the bulk delete option, which is given by default, but we do not have a bulk update option, right? So we can essentially write an action and register it so that we have that update option. The action function requires 3 arguments. The first argument is the current model admin. Again, the model admin, remember, is a representation of the model in the admin interface. It also requires an HTTP request object for the current request and the query set, which is the objects that the user selected to perform the action on. We also need that model admin be informed of the action. So now we're going to introduce the new field. This is going to be the Django choices field. Now this particular field is a Python sequence consisting of iterables of exactly 2 items. What is an iterable? If you worked on Python, then you know iterables are lists, tuples, strings as well. Any object that can return one item at a time. Now this particular choices field that we're going to use has 2 elements. The first element in the tuple is the actual value to be set on the model, and the second is the human readable name. So let's now go ahead and add that field to our student model. For that, come to your code and to models.py. Now we need to specify the choices here. So we'll have enrolled equal to EN. And we'll have interview allotted or interview date allotted equal to IA. And then we'll have admitted equal to AD, right? And here we'll specify admission status choices equal to, and this has to be in list format. Here go our tuples. So we have enrolled, which is the value to be set on the model, and we have the human readable name, which is enrolled. Similarly, for interview date allotted and admitted. Right now, what this does is it gives us a widget which will allow the user to make a choice, right? And the field, we'll add it here. That's going to be admission status equal to, and this is going to be a char field. Max length is going to be just 2. And then we need to specify choices equal to admission status choices. Right? So we're specifying that these are the choices, and the default choice will be enrolled. Okay. Now we need to write our action function, and that will be done in our admin.py file. So come to the admin.py file. Now here we're going to use the admin action decorator, which will allow us to provide a description for this function that we're going to write. So description equal to, and you'll see where this description appears shortly. Then we have our function, the action function. We'll call that make admitted. And this is going to take model admin as a first argument, and then the HTTP request object, and of course the query set. And all we'll see here is query set dot update change admission status to AD for admitted. Now remember, we need to also put in here our model admin class. So class student admin, and that's going to inherit from admin.modeladmin. And here we can specify list display. So what is list display? Currently, you can see we just have the names, right? So we can specify which fields we want to be displayed. So list display equal to, we're going to say student ID, comma, student name, and admission status. We also specify the ordering. So our ordering, this needs to be in list format, is going to be by student ID. Students will be ordered by student ID. Actions equal to, and again this is going to be in list format, the name of the function, that is make admitted, and delete selected. Now that we've put in this model admin class, we need to register it along with student. So student, comma, student admin. Check first of all our servers running, and we go to our browser, go to students, right? So we have this error. Why? Because we've changed our model and we haven't run make migrations and migrate. So stop the server and py manage.py make migrations, and then py manage.py migrate, and now start the server again. So press the up arrow, go back to your browser, refresh the page, and you can see we have our changed interface with our default status enrolled. And if you look at the action list, You see now where this description appeared? Remember, we had put in the description there. And that's what we've used the action decorator for. Now there is a design problem in this code. What is the problem? Well, the function is tightly coupled to the student object, right? So wouldn't it be better then to hook this action to the student admin object? How do we do that? I'm going to now just comment this out so that you have it for ready reference, and then we'll copy what we need. Right, so just copy the class, uncomment the block, control and / to do that. Right, put this make admitted now into quotes. Okay, and I'll tell you what that does, and then put in the action here. So we're going to just copy this function and paste it here. Make sure to uncomment this block and indent it as well. Right? Now change model admin to self. Okay, so what are the changes we've made now? We've moved make admitted so that it is now a method of this class, right? We've renamed the model admin parameter to self, and we put make admitted into a string instead of having a direct function reference there. So putting make admitted into a string will now tell model admin to look up the action as a method. Changing model admin to self can be useful to display messages to the user. So that's what we're going to do next. But before we do that, let's make sure that this is working. So check that your server is running, go back to your browser, refresh the page, and you see we have the same result, right? We come to advanced action options. So first of all, keeping the user informed. How do we do that? Using message user. Let's go back to our code. Let's put in comments here so that we know what these blocks of code are doing. And this is, and now again, you can copy all this code and then comment this out. Paste that code here. Okay. We're going to be using a variable here. Let's call that updated status equal to, and then we'll use self dot message user, and that is going to take our request, and then we'll have nGetText. So nGetText will be used for singular and plural. What does that mean? So if we have one student status changed, then this message will appear. And then if we have more than one student changed, then this message will appear. We then need to specify the variable name. And then after this bracket, we need to put in percentage updated status, comma, messages dot success. You can see squigglies here. We need to import messages as well as nGetText, right? So now we shouldn't have any squigglies there. Let's check if our server is running. Try to change the status. So S001, S002, mark selected students as admitted, click go, and you get the message 2 students successfully marked as admitted. Okay, so I hope that's clear. We can also disable action site-wide. How do we do that? We can just type in admin.site.disable action and put in the action you want disabled. So for example, delete selected, but you need to make sure that it's also removed from this action list. So now check that the server is running. You can see we have an error there. Control C to stop it because that happened when I was typing. Run the server again. And now go and check the site. Refresh. And now you will see I don't have the option to delete. Okay, so I hope that's clear. You can also re-enable the actions by including it in this list. Check that the server is running again. Go back to the site, refresh the page, and you will see now that we have delete selected students as well. Right? Another option is to conditionally enable or disable actions by calling modeladmin.getActions, which gives us a dictionary of actions allowed. Now, how do we use this? Let's go back to our code. We'll put in a comment here first. And now here, let's put in a comment, and you can take the same code and copy it from here. And then comment out this code. We will have another function which we'll call get actions, and that's going to take self and request. And here we say actions equal to super dot get actions. Right, so we're using that method, sending in request. And then we check if request dot username of 0, meaning the first letter of the name, dot upper as an uppercase, is not equal to, choose a letter, let's say K. Then check if delete selected is in the actions. Remember, actions is a dictionary return. We delete actions. Which action? Delete selected. So that will be deleted from the dictionary. And then we return actions. Now, of course, we don't need that colon there, and therefore the error. Let's go and check if this works. First of all, check if the server is running. So we need to stop that and start it again. Go back and refresh your page. And now check. We do not have the option to delete. Now we can also set permissions for actions. The default permissions are has add permission, has change, has delete, has view permission. We can add a permission to this list. We can, for example, put in has admit permission. Right, so let's go ahead and do that now. So come back to your code. Now just comment out the code we just put in and put in a comment here. Copy this code. And comment this code. We will have a function has admit permission. This is going to take self request. Now within this function, we'll have a variable called options, and that will be self.ops. We're using the ModelAdmin ops attribute. Just return request dot user dot has permission, and this will be %s percentage options dot app label, right? So you see, we can get the app name, if you will, comma, the name of the permission. So what we're doing here is we're checking whether the user has admit permission. So this will return a true or a false. Okay. So now check that your server is running, and then go to the site, refresh the page, and we do have admit permission, right? Now there's another way of doing this. After this line, put in another variable code name equal to get permission code name, and this will be admit, and we're going to get it from options. Okay. And then here, instead of stating the string admit, we'll just say code name. Of course, we've got to import this, therefore the squiggly. So up here, we say from django.contrib.auth import get permission code name, right? And we should see the same result. So check that the server is running, go to the site, refresh the page, and there we are. Now, if you don't put this in, for example, you ignore this method, then Django gives you an error, right? So for every permission that you create, you have to have the has whatever the permission name underscore permission. Okay. This ends our session for today. In the next session, we'll talk about Django templates. Till then, take care. Bye.